track day tyres can be really confusing things to buy. So I thought it would be a good idea to take a look at what I classify as 3 very different tyres and see whether the ultimate pace tyre, which is regarded as the Pirelli P0 Trofeo R, this tyre, is that much quicker in the dry and wet than the Toyo R888, which is kind of the internet's hero. And then we've got the Giti Sport GTR3, which is a kind of new tyre that's aimed slightly underneath the track day tyre, but slightly above the ultra high performance tyre. So it's a tyre that will feel great on track and has nice firm sidewalls, but won't kill you in the wet in theory. So what I've done, I've borrowed a BMW M2, which I'm super excited about. We're doing the wet testing and braking testing at Myra in Nuneaton, and then we're moving over to Cadwell Park for the ultra high performance dry handling, hopefully not crashing test. And we're going to see which of these 3 tyres really gives the performance they claim. Is the Pirelli going to be quickest in the dry like all the tests have shown? Does the R888 at almost half the price of the Pirelli give you half of the performance? And then this little thing, the GTR3, new to the market, it's about 15% again cheaper than Toyo. Is it going to be better in the wet, and can it hold its own in the dry? Because I think that's going to be the biggest question mark of this tyre. Wet testing at Myra is a little bit difficult because it's a very narrow circuit, it's a low grip surface, it's about 0.5 μ, and there's quite a lot of standing water, which these track day tyres hate. First up with the Pirelli, it was the most fun to drive in terms of the front end. It had the sharpest steering, it had the quickest steering, and it was just really, really pointy. The issue with the Pirelli was when it gave up grip very quickly, and it took a long time to recover. So you were in the slide and then you were waiting, and then it would just like lurch back. It made you feel quite amateur actually. It was the slowest tyre on test as well, about 77 second lap, but I think a lot of that was down to standing water. Moving to the Toyo, you really noticed the front end not being quite as precise. It was still a very pointy tyre, but it was just a little bit slower to steer and maybe a little bit more vague at the centre of steering. What this did allow you to do was have confidence in the tyre, which allowed you to push on a little bit more and just let the car move around in the slide, and that rewarded you with lap time. So with the 77 on the Pirelli, the Toyo was sort of a mid 75, so nearly 2 seconds a lap faster. Moving to the GT Sport tyre, the GTR3, this felt even more like a road tyre. It was still very pointy, so probably not quite as soft as modern UHP tyres are, because you know everything's getting a soft sidewall. But it definitely wasn't quite up to the standards of the other 2. It struggled less with aquaplaning and maybe had a slightly more wet bias compound, which meant it was the fastest tyre on test at around 73 seconds. The wet braking also confirmed the GT having probably the best wet compound because it stopped the car in the shortest distance. This time the Pirelli was second and the Toyo was third. Distances will be on screen somewhere. So that might kind of give you a bit more of a confirmation that the Pirelli was just very nervous in the wet, and it just didn't give you the confidence levels you needed to drive it quickly. And so a good result for the GT, probably not going to carry it through in the dry, because I'm super excited about driving the Pirelli in the dry. While it was twitchy and nervous in the wet, I'm sure the Pirelli's going to be the best tyre in the dry because it's just so pointy and loads up so nicely. But let's move on to Cadwell Park and see what we find out. So unfortunately, I have to stop and interrupt my own video here. The original plan after Myra, as I probably just said, was to come to Cadwell Park. We had it booked exclusively for the evening, and we were going to run for 2.5 hours, get all the data we needed, conclude, present, brilliant. Apparently what we found out, although we didn't know on the day, is the M2 doesn't like running without at least half a tank of fuel in. So we were running at around half a tank, and it kept on going into limp mode. So we effectively wasted the afternoon. It's lasted 14 miles. And so I've had to come back to Cadwell Park, as you might be able to tell on a public track day, where we're doing blind laps. We're not allowed to view the timings that we're taking, but at the end of the day, I will conclude the data. I don't think there's going to be much in-car stuff, but hopefully we'll get some good times for you anyway. I might not be allowed to time myself or look at my times on a track day, but I'm allowed to shout at you through a helmet. Sorry if the audio is quite bad. On the Pirellis now, and they are incredible. They have the best turn-in, they have the best balance, and they feel like they have the most grip, lap times to confirmed. It's just a really wonderful car. It's really, really confidence inspiring. So if the other two tyres where you might be a little bit nervous at points, the Pirelli's absolutely no problem. You know the car's gonna go where you want it to go. even on this little jump section, it's probably the most stable. One negative about the Pirellis, they take the longest to warm up, and then when you're off them, if you come off for like half a lap or so, they cool down very quickly, and then you're worrying about the front end and the back end. So as a tyre, as a track day tyre, it's the ultimate here on the test, but it's not going to be the best on street because it needs that heat. Otherwise, very, very good tyre, and as predicted, my favourite in the dry. Okay, I'm now out on the Toyo, the R888. I really wanted to like this tyre, but it's a massive disappointment. It's got so much understeer, and you get so little feedback from the front axle. It just doesn't really know what it's doing. And like, I can't really get over how sad this tyre is. It feels like it's got grip when it's loaded up, but until it's loaded up, there we go, some understeer, you just don't really know what the front axle's doing. It doesn't work well on this car. It feels like you can't get enough temperature into it, and it's just quite nervous, and it's not a fun experience. So the R888, surprisingly disappointing. I don't know how that'll relate to in lap times compared to the Pirelli, but I'm imagining it's going to be slower, probably a couple of seconds a lap. Okay, now I'm out on the GT radials, and remember, these were the best tyres in the wet by quite a margin. So I didn't expect these tyres to be that good in the dry. I didn't think the grip would hold out. It's not quite as grippy as the Pirelli, but my God, it's well balanced and it turns in. Feels a little bit softer on the sidewall than the Pirelli, as it should. Doesn't have the noise problems of the Toyo. I'm not sure if I mentioned that, but that Toyo is horribly noisy. But for a tyre that feels a lot like a road tyre, it works so well on track, and it's sharper on the front end than like a Michelin Pilot Sport 4S, and it's really confidence inspiring. So I don't think the outright limit of grip is quite as high as the Toyo, but I'm not sure what the time's going to be because it's just like so confidence inspiring. The day is over and the times are in, and there's a surprise and not so much of a surprise. The not so much of a surprise is the Pirelli P0 Trofeo R, as expected, dry weather king, posted a 142.5 lap, which was the fastest lap of the day, and it was consistent. The Toyo R888 posted a 144.7, so just over 2 seconds slower than the Pirelli, and the Giti Sport is the surprise, that posted a 144.5, so just a smidgen quicker than the Toyo and still around 2 seconds slower than the Pirelli. But for a tyre that works so well in the wet, it's impressive. So what can we conclude from the three tyres subjectively? And what would I fit to this car if I was using it as a track day car or as a road car? Now, the Pirelli was king of the dry, but it came at a price. The wet performance, especially aquaplaning, was sketchy. So as a road tyre, I wouldn't use it. As a track day tyre, best of the three. Not only was it the fastest, but it gave you such good confidence and such good steering feel. You just really enjoyed using it. Of the three, it was the only one that didn't overheat. So the Pirelli, definitely the best in the dry, most fun, but sketchy in the wet. Also took the longest to heat up. So again, something that you've got to think about in a road car is, would you get the correct temperature into the Pirelli? Because even here, if you did a half lap cool down lap and then went for it again, you'd just understeer because you wouldn't have the front tyre temperature. The Toyo R888, I hate to say, bit of a disappointment. I came here expecting this tyre to do really well, to be around the Pirelli performance, because it's like the internet's hero, and at half the price it could be incredible value, but it kind of feels sadly like half the tyre. It's very numb on the front axle, doesn't inspire confidence, doesn't really tell you what it's doing, and although it's probably got good lateral grip, you just don't feel like you can exploit it. It doesn't have the flip side of being better in the wet either, because it was a little bit quicker around Mara's wet handling, but still had trouble with aquaplaning. So using it on the road, you would still struggle. Now the GT Sport, that's the surprise of the day. That is a road tyre you can use on track, kind of like the original Michelin Pilot Super Sport. It was direct like the Pirelli, although it wasn't quite as sharp, but it gave you confidence. And while I don't think it had the ultimate dry grip of the Toyo, the R888, as is probably shown by the dry braking results, the GT gave you so much more confidence. You could use the grip more and you enjoyed using it. So it posted a very similar, a slightly faster lap time than the Toyo, which I'm sure has higher grip. So this is a tyre that's very interesting. And it's important to say this is an almost final prototype tyre, so I don't think it's quite available to market yet. When it does come to market, I'm going to be super interested in putting it against some other more road bias rivals like the Michelin Pilot Sport 4S and the Conti Sport Contact 6, because this is a tyre that I think feels like the original Super Sport. I think it's going to be sharper and more direct, especially on the front, than the 4S has got, because that's got a little bit soft. So I think this tyre could be really exciting. Whether the wet grip advantage holds up against the tyres like the 4S, I'm not entirely sure, because these track day tyres were struggling with aquaplaning, and obviously they're designed to be all-around dry tyres, whereas this is an all-round tyre. But the fact it could match the Toyo in the dry just makes it kind of exciting, kind of interesting. It's that tyre I've been wanting. It's a tyre that's got a firm sidewall, strong steering response, but also has wet performance, so you can use it year round. If you've got any questions from this, please ask in the comments below. As always, if you've enjoyed it, please like and subscribe. The subscriptions mean a lot because I'm trying to build up a number so I get additional YouTube support. The next video will be the fabled Michelin Pilot Sport 4 versus 4S versus Cup 2. I'm shooting it as I'm shooting this next week, so it will probably be 2 weeks behind on edit. So fingers crossed we don't get rained off again, or we don't have car issues again, and that video will be live. Thank you once again to Cadwell Park, because this circuit's incredible. Come down and just drive around it. You can see why they call it the mini Nürburgring. It's such an exciting, fun place to drive, although the barriers are a little bit close at points, but you have to come and do it. And as always, happy motoring.